Your war is my great segue, because in 2000, President Bush got elected. 9/11 happened in 2001. You are a congressman from Texas. George Bush is from Texas. What's been the greatest disappointment with this administration? If you had to triage and pick 1, 2, and 3, what are they, and what would Ron Paul have done differently?
Well, I can name 2 rather quickly because, you know, Republicans have a habit of running on small government rhetoric. You know, we want less government, we want personal liberty. And I would say that the 2 things most that I was disappointed about was George Bush's statement on foreign policy in the year 2000 when he was running. He talked about a humble foreign policy, no policing the world, and don't interfere in the internal affairs of others, no nation building. And that was absolutely, totally rejected.
His answer, though, is, I was innocent like the rest of us were in 2000. After 9/11, everything changed. That act of terrorism really took our innocence away, and we need to approach foreign policy differently. How do you respond to that?
I would say that nothing should have changed with the protection of personal liberty, because you're not more free or safer because you give up liberty. You're safer with the maximum amount of liberty. But, you know, they said there were no plans and 9/11 changed it. That is not true either, because we have Paul O'Neill's statement in the first cabinet meeting. He says, first thing on the table was, when are we going to attack Iraq? The day after 9/11, when are we going to attack Iraq, even if Iraq had nothing to do with it? So, and I just found out recently by going back and looking at the platform in the year 2000, Bush had that platform changed, so that's well before 9/11. They put it in there that they accept Clinton's bill that he had passed in the Congress, the Iraq Liberation Act, which was the beginning of all this. It was a bill that was passed that said we will have regime change, which I stood up and opposed it in 1998.
That they incorporated the Bill Clinton Iraq Liberation Act into the platform of the Republican Party after the platform was embraced?
Well, no, when he was running.
But no one knew.
No, that was what the real thing was going on, although he was publicly talking about a humble foreign policy.
So I know you voted to give authorization to the president vis-a-vis Iraq. Is that correct?
Absolutely not.
You voted to give...
From 1998 on, I stood on the floor dozens and dozens and dozens of times saying, stop the war. When they brought that Iraq Liberation Act up, they brought it up under suspension, which means no controversy. Both sides were for it. Under those conditions, I, as an individual, if I'm opposed to the bill, I can get 20 minutes, and the other side gets 20 minutes. I took 20 minutes in opposition. I said, this is a declaration of war. We're demanding a regime change, and it's going to lead to war.
And this is in 1998?
1998.
And you also did it when we went to war in Iraq as well?
Absolutely.
Now, but you did not vote against the decision to go to war in Afghanistan.
Well, it wasn't a declaration of war to go to war. It was very precise. It was to go after those individuals who, you know, carried out the attack, the Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden.
And we haven't accomplished that task. So what would you do differently?
Well, if I were president, I'd have done exactly what I was told to do. What did Bush do? He had Osama bin Laden on the run at Tora Bora, and they backed away. And they asked the Pakistanis to take care of it. Now Osama bin Laden is in Pakistan. They're a military dictatorship, and we send them money. Yeah. So indirectly, we're protecting Osama bin Laden and occupying Afghanistan, which was not part of the authorization. And that, of course, has to do with gas and oil pipelines going through Afghanistan.
Okay, gas and oil pipelines. You've reduced the size of government. You don't want the subsidies. You don't want the federal government into this conversation, but yet we are dependent on foreign fuels. How does Ron Paul address the energy security needs of the United States? Not just the fact that it's like the Pac-Man of all of our budgets, but how do you deal with it both from a security perspective as well as from a need perspective with energy?
There's a world market. What do you think Japan sits around every day in their legislature worrying about who's going to sell them oil? I mean, they don't have any oil. They just buy it off Amsterdam's market. So, and we go, you know, you're inferring where we need to go to protect our oil. But oil prices have gone up more than twice as much since we've been over there. So prices go up, and the Iranians are under threat now, so that keeps prices up. So our whole policy makes it worse. But what we do is the oil people actually have their private army, which are our soldiers, to go over there and protect their interests. Nobody even talks about Colombia, but we're involved big time in a civil war down there. for about 5 years now, couple billion dollars every
So
year.
what's your energy policy? Do you have one?
I want to get hands off. I want the market to work. You don't have to have an energy policy. It's sort of like asking me.
But it's
wait,
ironic.
wait.
Okay.
It's like asking me, what is my policy to distribute cell phones? I don't have a policy for distributing cell phones or TVs or computers.
So you're looking at the energy needs of the country similar to the development of cell phones, except cell phones I can do as a little widget in a factory with component parts. The problem with energy is that you're looking at the Middle East, which really produces more of that energy need than anywhere, and that doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter a bit, because what if...
You're not concerned with OPEC. You're not concerned with the fact that they might decide to do...
No, just think back to in 1980s, oil had been up to $40. Some people anticipated $80 oil. And OPEC was powerful. It went down to $10. And OPEC met every month. I mean, monopolies don't work. The market is more powerful than the market. If the government comes overly oppressive, there's always a black market. The market is so powerful. The black market existed in the Soviet system. That's the true market.
Last point. What don't you trust about the market? Anything? Is it that pure? Is it that successful?
Well, no. Why the one shortage is the frailties of man. And sometimes you get corruption and people steal, and that's where you have the role of government to enter into the problem, if people don't uphold their contracts. But I fear mostly the government giving us bad money, violating our property rights, overly taxing us, over-regulating us, and taking our young people and sending our troops all around the world to protect oil, and all these kind of things that make prices go up, causes the inflation, it causes the mess that we have today.
Ron Paul, you're going to come back to the studio. We're going to give you at least an hour so we can talk. There's way too much to talk about.
It's been great.
I wish you a successful venture. I think you're shaking it up in the Republican side of the aisle, and that's always fun to watch. This is Arnie Arnesen. Don't forget, politicalchowder.com. And we want to make sure that you remember our number of the week is 175 tons. And by going to politicalchowder.com, not only do you get the backstory on that number, but you understand why we told you it was from Russia with love. So with that, I want to remind you that we will have Ron Paul back in, and we encourage you on Monday to attend that fabulous and interesting event dealing with healthcare security and long-term financial security. Yes, you've got the AARP, the SEIU, and, of course, Business Roundtable. Ciao. This is Arnie Arnesen. Have a great week.
Get you some thin gravy. Go on, get yourself lit. Well, you don't know nothing from nothing. You don't know nothing, you just said. You got a briefcase full of nobody's business.